Hi, I'm Ray Hagar with the Reno Gazette-Journal, and welcome to an all-new edition of Nevada Newsmakers. Today we're going to talk about Supreme Court Justice nominee Harriet Miers. Is she too close to the White House, and is she too non-conservative?
Today we're going to be speaking with Gary Hengstler. He's the director of the National Center for Media and the Courts, as well as Tom Mesereau, who is counsel for Michael Jackson, Robert Blake, and Mike Tyson. Ray?
And on today's pundit panel, we have Dupre, Anjeanette, Damon. So let's roll for an all-new edition of Nevada Newsmakers.
Nevada Newsmakers, brought to you in part by the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center, the world's largest industrial park, the resort at Red Hawk, and the Peppermill family of casinos.
Corporations moving to the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center require reliable power, fiber optic communication, and clean water sources. And yet, there's another amenity we're very proud of here at TRI, rail service. So far, we've built over 2 miles of railroad track, and another 3.6 is under construction. When companies need to transport freight, we're going to help them move it quickly and efficiently. Welcome to the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center, the largest industrial park in the world, building economic prosperity for Nevadans.
Something spectacular has taken wing not far from Reno or Lake Tahoe, and never far from your mind. An escape of fine dining and legendary golf. Introducing the resort at Red Hawk. And at the center of it all, we've feathered our nest with new villas that have elevated Red Hawk to the status of a premier resort. The resort at Red Hawk, a beautiful new arrival in northern Nevada.
As an employer, did you know you can be held liable for negligent hiring? A background screening by Employer Links can uncover criminal records, like alcohol and drug convictions. It can verify the applicant's education, driving records, and professional licenses. Employer Links can check civil records, registered sex offender records, and Social Security fraud. Hiring the right person shouldn't be a gamble. Call Employer Links. Employer Links, protecting your investment.
I tell you, John, this industry has really changed.
Tell me about it.
You seem to do pretty well last year. What's your secret?
No secrets. Although I'll tell you something. The smartest thing I did was sign up with Pro Group Management.
Really? Yeah, they do workers' comp, right?
Yeah, their services are great. And get this, they saved me 30%. I've heard they saved others 50%.
That works for me.
Pro Group Management. Finally, workers' comp that works for you.
You are watching Nevada Newsmakers.
Hi, welcome back to Nevada Newsmakers. Today joining Paul Enos and I is Gary Hengstler, the director of the National Center for Courts and Media. Welcome to you, Gary.
Thank you.
Now, Gary, you are a former associate of Harriet Miers, who's been nominated for the Supreme Court by President Bush.
Yes.
And she's been described by colleagues as hardworking, shy, and caring for her clients. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I think that's probably an accurate description. I read in one of the accounts that she's the first person in at the White House in the morning and the last one to leave. It certainly squares with my working with her and her work ethic.
In my research, I found out that she goes to work at 4 a.m. in the morning and many times doesn't leave until after 10 p.m. at night, so I just wonder where she finds time to sleep.
I've wondered that too, because the times I've gone to Washington and had lunch with her, she physically looks more tired than when I worked with her at the ABA or in Texas.
This charge of cronyism that's come from some of as the president or the president's defenders have called like George Will, Bill Kristol, Charles Krauthammer. They've said the elitist conservatives who have kind of been going after Harriet Miers. Through some dealings with you think you may know some of the reason behind that?
I don't have any more inside information than people in the party, but I tend to think that Bush is taking a chance and possibly alienating his hard conservative base by this appointment. I've been telling people who've been asking me that among Bush appointees, this is about as close to Sandra Day O'Connor as you're going to get.
But also, when you worked with Harriet Miers, she did some things that may have upset some conservatives at the time, such as Ed Meese. Can you go into detail on that?
Well, she was chair of a board of editors when I was the editor and publisher of the American Bar Association's magazine, and under their bylaws, she in effect was my boss. And we had several articles that were controversial. We had criticisms from the conservatives that we were writing too much about changes in laws affecting gays, that we were appeared to be too much of a plaintiff's lawyer in the tort reform issues, and we also got criticisms from liberals when we did an interview with Orrin Hatch. We questioned the first war on drugs trial. And in all of that, you know, in the news business, whatever you do, you're going to have some people say that was great and somebody's going to say that was lousy. She stood by us, and she weathered all of the criticism. She never once told me, leave this in, put this in. She just let us run an independent magazine.
You know, Gary, one of the concerns of conservatives is how Harriet Miers would react to the abortion issue if Roe v. Wade ever came up to the Supreme Court. But in 1987, when she was running for the Dallas City Council, she opposed abortion rights, and she did again in 1992 as the president of the Texas Bar Association. So how do you think she would rule or react to if a Roe v. Wade type of issue came before the court?
I don't know how she would vote on that. I do know that she's personally opposed to abortion, but whether that would translate into finding constitutional analysis to overturn Roe v. Wade, I don't know, and it doesn't necessarily follow. For instance, in 1992, yes, she did lead the forces in the American Bar Association trying to get the association to return to a position of neutrality and rescind its pro-choice position. But her rationale wasn't based on the issue of abortion itself. What she was saying was that this issue is so divisive that as it stands now, we are going to lose judges and lawyers as members because judges don't want to belong to an organization that has a position on something that might come before them as a judge. It creates an appearance problem. So her argument was that this was not in the best interest of the association for membership purposes. It had nothing to do with really the substantive issue of pro or con on abortion itself.
Okay. The abortion issue is so in focus whenever we have a Supreme Court or any court nominee. And as the director of the National Center for the Media and the Courts, do you think this issue is overstated when there are issues that have a much broader impact, such as eminent domain, the environment, the war on terror, even the line item veto, but yet we seem to just want to focus on this one issue that is really so narrow in the grand scope of things?
Well, to some extent, having worked all my life in the media and then going to law school and getting my law degree, I think that part of that can be laid at the hands of the media. I mean, the public focuses on what we in the newspapers and television choose to make news, and abortion has been a hot topic on that. But more philosophically, I think the reason abortion has been remains such a key issue is some of the very strong fundamentalist Christians believe that it affects their future standing with their God. In other words, if you are silent or not opposed to this, in Revelation it talks about if you're lukewarm on an issue, I will spit you out. Well, I think from what they're trying to, from their perspective, they're saying, if I don't take a stand opposing this, if after I die, I should have taken a position, am I jeopardizing my own eternal life? And so I think it's that basic to them. They feel like they've got to do it because God wants them to. Not everybody agrees with that.
Gary, we've got to stop it right there. Thanks. You did a very good job for us today.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
We'll be right back after this.
For a videotape copy of any Nevada Newsmakers program, call 775-857-2244. The tapes are $20 each, including shipping.
For more than a decade, the Southern Nevada Water Authority has been helping the community embrace conservation as a way of life. That includes replacing more than 50 million square feet of grass with water-smart landscaping. During the worst drought on record, watering restrictions and tough landscaping codes have reduced the community's water use by billions of gallons, even as thousands of new residents were moving into Nevada. That's smart water management, and that's our promise to Nevada.
Reno's best dining values are all at one casino, the Pepper Mill. You can enjoy great savings on our popular specials. Pepper Mill's coffee shop offers daily lunch specials, low-carb dining, and all your favorite comfort foods. You'll find sensational lunch specials featuring Reno's freshest seafood, sushi, pasta, and more at Oceano. And early bird specials at Reno's Premier Steakhouse and Romanza Ristorante Italiano. The best values are at the Pepper Mill. Where are you dining?
Many of the materials we rely on every day come from the ground, and modern mining technology brings them to us cleaner and safer than ever before. To learn more about America's natural resources, visit nma.org, the National Mining Association.
Island Inkjet is now open on South Meadows Parkway. Island Inkjet will refill your inkjet cartridges in just 1 hour. We have the ink to precisely match over 240 cartridges, saving you up to 60% on the cost of buying a new cartridge. Our work is 100% guaranteed, and contrary to what you may have heard, refills do not void any printer warranties. You don't throw out your car when it runs out of gas. Don't throw out your cartridges. Refill them at Island Inkjet on South Meadows Parkway by Smith's.
This is Nevada Newsmakers with host Sam Shad, a no-holds-barred political forum. Now, from the Nevada Newsmakers broadcast headquarters, here is Sam Shad.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we're joined by noted attorney Tom Mesereau. Pleasure to have you here, sir.
Thank you for inviting me.
You know, in recent times, you've been interviewed by Larry King, Jay Leno, and Barbara Walters. Now you're doing this show. Your career is going to heck in a handbasket.
I don't think so. I'm honored to be here. Thank you.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you here. You're here for a conference discussing courts and the media. I want to throw out names, and I want you to give me, if you would, a sense of the real person behind the name, because I think so often, you know, we see media circuses around these trials, and the real person gets lost. So let's start out with the best-known case that you've handled, which would be the Michael Jackson molestation trial. What's he really like?
He's kind, he's gentle, he's a very caring person, he's a very honest person, very down-to-earth, and very misunderstood.
In what way?
Well, I think, unlike anyone else I've ever met, a cottage industry around the world has developed where people almost make a living trying to scandalize Michael Jackson. And 99.999% of what they write is completely false. But because they've been able to get momentum and develop a way of making a living on this kind of nonsense, he's misunderstood and mischaracterized constantly in the tabloid press particularly.
How much does he contribute himself to this?
Well, I mean, I think perhaps indirectly, because Michael Jackson has tried to live a very private life when it comes to his personal affairs, and I think by not explaining himself better and by not letting people understand more of who he is, he probably has allowed the scandal mongers to take advantage of him.
And your opinion at this point of the Santa Barbara County DA?
Well, he certainly was aggressive. He certainly was prepared. He devoted enormous resources to the case. I think he was very misguided.
And do you think that there are further problems down the road for Michael Jackson?
I certainly hope not. I think he's starting a new life. I saw him a few weeks ago in London. I was there to defend him at a deposition. It's a civil case going on in the United States. He looked very well. His children looked wonderful. They were with him. I think he's doing quite well.
What would you think is the definition of a normal life for Michael Jackson? Is it possible?
Well, probably not possible in the way that we understand a normal life because he's so popular. He can't just walk out the door and do anything he feels like doing. There was a classic interview he gave that actually was played before the jury in the trial, where he was asked, if you could do anything today, what would you like to do? And he said, I'd love to go to a grocery store, just wheel a cart and put groceries in the cart and not have anybody bother me, but I can't do it. So he can't just walk out and live the way you and I do. It's unfortunate, because he'd like to.
You know, it's interesting. Somebody told me a long time ago that you kind of make choices when you're a star. You can either be there all the time, like a Dick Clark is probably one of the most famous people in America. He can go anywhere. In fact, he loves to go. He'll come to this TV station. He will be signing autographs for 2 hours after the show. He's a very normal type person. In a way, some of these celebrities choose to live this lifestyle that is just unworldly.
Well, yes and no. He's the most popular star in the world. I mean, he is the greatest megastar on the planet. And if you go into other countries, Asia, Africa, the Middle East, Western Europe, throngs will come out to surround him. And he needs security, and he needs to be careful about where he goes and what he does. I don't think this is all by choice at all. I think there's nobody quite like him on the planet.
Let's talk about Robert Blake. You represented him for a portion of his trial. What kind of man is he?
Well, he's a very, very bright man, a very accomplished actor. Many think he was one of the best actors ever. He did disappear for a while in his career, but many people think his performance in the movie In Cold Blood was one of the great performances.
And Beretta.
Yeah, and he's a very aggressive, outspoken person, but very bright and very interesting.
He came off on TV as kind of wacky. How do you feel about that?
I wouldn't call him wacky. I would say that he's an individual with very strong individualistic views, and he's willing to express them. I'm not sure what program you're talking about, but the Robert Blake I know is unusual, creative, and very opinionated.
Okay, to say the least. Let's move on to another person that you worked with for a short time, which was Mike Tyson. What's different between his public persona and the private persona?
Well, I was not as exposed to Mike Tyson as I was to Michael Jackson and Robert Blake, but I think he's a person who unfortunately has been terribly exploited. His money's been taken from him. He has trusted the wrong people. I think ever since his initial team who managed his affairs, Jim Jacobs, Bill Caton, ever since that team disappeared, I think it's been one calamity after another, and it's very unfortunate. I think there's a much nicer side to him than people realize.
Let's talk about why you're here in this conference, courts and the media. You know, with Court TV now being a huge program, and you're seeing more of this moving into other cable news networks, and obviously, you know, the popularity of Judge Judy. Is there an entertainment factor now going on within the court system that wasn't there before we had all of this?
Well, I've been extremely critical of Court TV ever since the Michael Jackson verdict. I attacked them on Larry King, and I attacked them on Jay Leno, and I've attacked them in speeches before Bar Association.
Apparently right now, too.
Yes, exactly. I was a fan of Court TV for many, many years, and when Steve Brill ran that network, I thought they were very professional, very authentic. I used to periodically order tapes from Court TV if I saw an examination by a lawyer that I wanted to review and study, and I was a great fan of them for many years. In the Michael Jackson case, they became a tabloid. They hit the bottom of the barrel when it came to professional journalistic standards. They became sensationalist. They misstated the facts. They didn't understand what was going on in the courtroom. They were humiliated by the verdicts. And I think they really hit the bottom, and I've been willing to say that. They are now, in my opinion, a tabloid entertainment network, not a professional Court TV network like they were.
Well, I thank you so much for doing this. Anytime you're in town, you got a place right here.
Thanks for inviting me. I appreciate it.
Stay right there. We'll be right back on Nevada Newsmakers after this. Very nice job. Thank you.
Thank you.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
Welcome to the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center, just 10 minutes east of Sparks. We're proud that Walmart and other Fortune 500 companies have chosen Tahoe Reno Industrial Center to relocate their businesses. We have sites from under 5 acres to well over 500 acres, and with all of the amenities that every successful corporation requires. Welcome to the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center, the largest industrial park in the world, and we're building economic prosperity for Nevadans.
The Nevada Beer Wholesalers encourages the responsible consumption of beer. The Nevada Beer Wholesalers Association are sponsors and participants in many community-based efforts such as school education programs, safe ride home, recycling programs, alcohol-free after-prom and graduation parties, safe boating campaigns, and designated driver programs. They are family-owned businesses employing 2,000 Nevadans. They also collect and pay the state excise tax. The Nevada Beer Wholesalers Association, delivering more than just beer.
My family started this business 27 years ago.
We work hard to serve our customers and our community, but it's getting harder and harder to keep the doors open.
For example, our workers' comp is going through the roof. Isn't anyone on my side anymore?
The Retail Association of Nevada is. If you're a small business owner, we can cut your workers' comp by up to 50%, lobby for your interests, and keep you informed. Put us to work today.
Something spectacular has taken wing not far from Reno or Lake Tahoe, and never far from your mind. An escape of fine dining and legendary golf. Introducing the resort at Red Hawk. And at the center of it all, we've feathered our nest with new villas that have elevated Red Hawk to the status of a premier resort. The Resort at Red Hawk, a beautiful new arrival in northern Nevada.
And now, back to Nevada Newsmakers.
Hi, welcome to our pundit panel today. Joining Paul and I are Pam Dupre of the Washoe County Democrats and Anjeanette Damon, of my colleague at the Reno Gazette-Journal. Welcome to you both.
Morning.
Good to be here.
Paul, you want to kick it off?
Sure. Anjeanette, you wrote an article that appears in today's Reno Gazette-Journal about Dawn Gibbons, who has now kicked off her race for Congress.
Right.
Handicap it for us.
Oh boy, I have not seen any polls personally on that race, so I don't think I could really handicap it for you. It's going to be a great primary. There are three very strong Republicans with different strengths and weaknesses in that race, so the voters in CD2, the Republican voters in CD2 are going to have a choice before them to make in that primary.
What are some of those strengths and weaknesses? I mean, we're actually looking forward to kind of a battle, I think. We may be some Republicans beating up each other, so we'll see how that goes.
And you're kind of frothing the mouth over that because you're hoping that, they beat each other up enough that
Yeah, but
Jill
what Democrat is going to win that
right?
race? Come on.
Jill Derby. But I
Jill
want to
Derby.
get back to
Okay.
Anjeanette about strengths and weaknesses of the candidates.
Well, obviously, any primary campaign with three people like this, it's going to go negative at some point. I mean, it has to, as the laws of politics. It
Already
seems.
has.
And it has, right. But the strengths, I mean, there are three Republicans that have been elected to office several times. They have fundraising networks. Sharon Engel, that might be a criticism or a weakness, that maybe she won't raise as much big money in the state, but she has some powerful national groups that are funneling
She'll
money
have a
to
lot
her
of
campaign.
right-wing extremist groups who are sending money in from outside of the state.
That's not necessarily
That's
fair.
already started.
That's started.
That's already started.
The Club for Growth is not a right-wing crazy group. It's a group of business people who actually think we should
It's a right-wing
Absolutely
group.
not.
I
That's
didn't.
BS.
Did I say crazy? I did not use the word crazy.
Well, when
I
you say
said
right-wing, you almost, that's right-wing's the euphemism for crazy that Democrats love to use.
In your vocabulary, perhaps, I just said right-wing.
It's like the Republicans when you're liberal. That's close to being communist, it seems like.
Well, I always refer back to the dictionary, and the word liberal means looking forward as opposed to wanting to live in the past, which is the meaning of conservative. So it is. I'm afraid Anjeanette is right. I mean, I don't know that anybody really likes or relishes the idea of a campaign going horribly negative, because we don't get to hear about the real issues then. We don't get to hear from the candidates about what really matters. And we're talking about a seat in the United States Congress.
Well, we're talking about issues. Dawn Gibbons said her big issue is the illegal undocumented workers coming in from Mexico. What is a first-term freshman congresswoman going to do about that? I mean, it's an overwhelming
problem. Absolutely nothing. There's nothing she can do. There's no agreement among Republicans, among Democrats, between Republicans and Democrats about what to do about illegal immigration.
Individually, it's
one
very
of the
hard.
Huge mysteries.
Individually, it's very hard for one person to go out there and to really make a difference. But you can align yourself with the people who are out there and trying to make the difference on any issue: illegal immigration, the way we spend our money.
Well, if there's some
the war
alignment on
terror.
illegal immigration, I'd like you to reveal
Well,
that
at this point,
because that's a
we're
difficult
losing
issue.
sight of what the point is at this stage in the campaign. campaign. She is choosing an issue to talk about that are going to, she hopes, bring her voters to the polls. And illegal immigration is something that people are obviously talking about.
Sharon Angle is putting 2 petitions out there. Her property tax petition that will lower the property tax in the state, or at least
which has already been capped.
Which have already been lowered. It's in an unconstitutional way. And secondly,
that remains to be
to
be seen.
Oh, come on! You cannot read that. You cannot really read. You had to suspend belief for a moment to accept the fact that the property tax cap that was passed by this legislature was constitutional. It was not. It was a bastardization of the Constitution, saying that every single. People are too afraid. People are too afraid that
Paul,
if
I'm
it's challenged in court.
I'm going to believe the attorneys in the Legislative Council Bureau, who I think signed off on that legislation, and let's leave that issue to a judge.
I am not willing to suspend disbelief.
And not a lobbyist for the Business Association.
Excuse me, Pam. I don't think it really takes a whole huge step out of reality to say that the property tax cap that was passed by the legislature, where it said every single person who owns a home in the state of Nevada is under a hardship, therefore we have to cap their tax at 3%. I don't think that is that insane to think that is unconstitutional or a bastardization of the Constitution. It absolutely is. And I don't think you'll find very many people who are going to be intellectually honest with you who will disagree.
Oh, finger pointing. Okay.
I wasn't figuring. I was a time out on that.
Paul was. I'm sorry.
My goodness.
Absolutely was.
What about Jill Derby? Has any chance of winning?
Of course she does.
Oh my goodness.
Ray,
Tell me.
There's obviously no incumbent in that seat.
But it's all Republicans in the district. 80%.
The 3 Republicans in that race are going to have to spend a lot of money, a lot of resources, a lot of political capital, if you will, in that primary, and there's going to be very little left. Jill, so far, no Democrats challenging her in the primary. She has been elected.
They're smart.
She's good. She's an excellent candidate. She's from rural Nevada. She's been on the Board of Regents for many, many years.
Which is a hindrance more than a help.
She's got a lot of bipartisan support, and I think Jill is going to be a very, very strong candidate. Don't be surprised when
a Democrat from Douglas County.
That's right.
Anjeanette?
That's right.
Well, you have a point there, a Democrat from Douglas County. She's been elected in Douglas County, which is one of the most Republican counties in the state. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with Jill Derby's campaign. There could be certain scenarios that may have legitimacy that makes her competitive. One has to do with probably the national climate going on with the Republican Party, but things change so quickly, I think it's difficult to say now.
If we elect somebody from the Board of Regents, we're absolutely nuts.
Nevada Newsmakers, brought to you in part by the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center, the world's largest industrial park, the resort at Red Hawk, and the Peppermill family of casinos.
South Reno's hotspot for food, fun, and friends is the Tamarack Junction. Play over 480 of the hottest slots and video poker games. Enjoy hot times and sizzling food specials at Sully's Sports Bar, Grill, and Nightclub. Watch your favorite game on one of our jumbo high-definition plasma TVs. Enjoy great food 24 hours a day in the Dining Car Restaurant. Or sample the best hot and cold sandwiches in the Whistle Stop Deli. The Tamarack Junction is your junction for fun. South Virginia and Abadi Ranch Parkway. Yeah.
Just a reminder, you can catch all the shows on Nevada Newsmakers on our website, www.nevadanewsmakers.com. Paul, the Republican, who do we have on tomorrow?
Tomorrow we have Republican Sig Rogich.
A kingmaker.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Thanks a lot.
Bye-bye.